So substantial weather coming into our area as a winter storm starts setting its sights on the northeast, and even some blizzard warnings for parts of the northeast in effect as well. I am meteorologist Steve Krasnowski with your myweatherman.com evening update. It's about 5:30 right now, and what I wanted to quickly do is take a look at how the storm's evolving and where it's going to go next. Taking a look at the radar that you'll find on our website. You can see the precipitation shield is really starting to set up for the tri-state area. Snow finally pushing its way into the New York area. I'm going to take the temperatures off of this. I'm going to put them back in a little while, and I'll explain that in a minute. So here you go. I'm also going to zoom in a little bit. You can start seeing the precipitation shield starting to enter New York City. The atmosphere is pretty saturated, so the snow should begin falling at a pretty good clip. And what's really interesting is you can see some of these darker grays and blues and even some purples starting to form along the Maryland border. And what you're going to see here is snow rates of about an inch to maybe 2 inches falling at a clip. So places like Philadelphia will be seeing some of this banding happening within the next half hour to 45 minutes. So probably around 6:15, 6:30, somewhere in there, you should really start seeing some substantial snowfall. May have to up the totals for Philly maybe an inch or so, depending on where the bands really shape up and how long they are ongoing for. But what you see here is just, it looks like a simple snowstorm. But it's really not, and we're going to get into that in a second. So I'm going to zoom back out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the temperatures back on the screen. And normally when I do these videos, I try and keep the temperatures off, especially of this screen. But what you can see is we've been talking about this polar front. So what this polar front, or actually this polar boundary, what it is, it's really Arctic air. You can see in central northern New York, you can see 3 degrees. Right now, and that's in Schenectady. So right outside Albany, you have highs of 3 degrees right now, and the sun just went down. So we're really gonna, again, as I was saying, this storm doesn't necessarily look too ominous, but that polar boundary where the air is just extremely cold is gonna really enhance that snow. Low pressure is also gonna come off the coast, and once it hits the waters, there will be a lot of strengthening, and it's going to ride up the coast, bringing substantial snowfall for the coast. New York City, even central and eastern Long Island, you have a blizzard warning out for you. Coastal Connecticut, Rhode Island, Boston, you're really going to get some snow out of this. When that low hits the ocean, we will see some pretty good deepening, some pretty good strengthening, and some really good snowfall. Winds are going to be an issue. Blizzard warnings will be in effect and needed. 3 hours sustained winds over 30 miles per hour. Blowing snow will be an issue as well. So although right now the snow doesn't look too ominous, you give it 2 more hours, 3 more hours, you start looking at the radar, you're going to see a whole new picture. Moving on, now again, I wanted to just quickly talk about that polar front air mass again. I'm going to show you on another chart here. Alright, so here you go. Here are the current surface temperatures. As you can see, cold air is really entrenched, and here's your Arctic air. Alright, I mean, 10 degrees right now. Again, it's about 3 degrees in Albany, about 14 in Poughkeepsie. New York City's hovering around about 25, 26 degrees. The air is really going to struggle, and part of the problem that we're going to see is after the snow, we're going to see some really extreme numbers. I mean, I'm talking 5 degrees in New York City. So these are numbers that we haven't seen in some time, and the wind chills are going to be a real issue. People who are homeless need to find a shelter. Because these wind chills are going to be extremely dangerous. And again, as you see these temperatures, as they're nosediving and the precipitation overruns it, you're going to see some really enhanced snows. So you might have seen that we've been talking about snow ratios. Typically, a snow ratio 10 to 1 for every inch of liquid, we would get 10 inches of snow. However, when it's colder in the 20s, we might use 15-to-1 ratios, or if it's in the teens, we might even use 20-to-1 ratios. So if it's 20-to-1 ratios, doing the math, you could say an inch of liquid could equal 20 inches of snow. We're not looking for that, but what we're looking for primarily is about a half inch of liquid in many areas. So normally that would come out to about 4 or 5 inches of snow. But again, with the cold temperatures, this is going to be a light, fluffy snow. The snow that's good to push off your car very easily. Not very good for snowball fights, or heavy shoveling. But a light, fluffy snow. But instead of the 4 or 5 inches, you might see 7 or 8 inches out of that. And again, depending on where you are, this storm will really wind up once it hits the coast. So the further east you are, the more chance, and north as well, the more chance that you'll get some more accumulating snows. I just want to quickly go to our precipitation map here, our first call, or last call at this point, so here is our accumulation map. Again, we noted this on Twitter. This is a hand-drawn map. A lot of work went into this. Really wanted to get the edges as fine as we could. So what we're looking at here, you can see the really enhanced snows that I spoke about were about a foot. We're looking 12, 14 inches eastern side of Long Island, Rhode Island coast, and even up to Boston. Really have the shot of getting a foot. I wouldn't expect too much more than a foot, but about a foot. The red here signifies a very vast area of 6 to 12 inches. I think New York City probably going to end up about 8 or 9 inches before it's all said and done. But again, the temperatures are going to be an issue tomorrow into Saturday morning as they bottom out. We will also have issues with winds from about midnight tonight till about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're going to see winds over 20 miles per hour, probably sustained, so these winds are going to be blowing that light, fluffy snow around. So again, this is something to keep an eye on, something to keep updated with. This may be our last video of the evening, but our Twitter will be up and running. You can send us questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. We'll try and keep an eye on school closings, road closings. I know Governor Cuomo for New York has already closed many highways, so keep tuning to us, especially our Twitter feed, as we try and keep you updated. And if we have time for another video tonight, we'll try and get one up. Otherwise, have a good night and stay safe.